Texas is really on a roll. First, they passed the bill banning abortions after 6 weeks, and they're not slowing down. This is a good lesson. What the Republicans in Texas are doing is now and has been for a while a good lesson for conservatives and other Republicans all across the country. You stay on offense. You know, I think for many other Republicans, well, they would never pass that abortion bill in the first place, but if they did, they would spend the next 6 years defending it, and that's all they would do. But Texas Republicans, they've said, no, we've done that. That's done. And okay, now we're going to do this. And they've now passed a bill that would ban biological males from female sports. It also, by the way, bans females from male sports, but that never really comes up because you very rarely see it in the reverse, where the females, which is a very interesting phenomenon. Even though transgenderism is far more common among adolescent girls, the sports issue is almost exclusively boys trying to play against the girls. Wonder why that is. So the legislature passed this bill. It is now on Governor Abbott's desk, where I assume he will be signing it today or soon at least. And the media is responding, as you can expect, and so is the White House. This is from Axios. It says a White House spokesperson on Tuesday condemned a Texas bill that would force public school students to play on sports teams based on their assigned sex at birth. It would force them to do exactly what everyone in sports has been doing from time immemorial. It would force them to do exactly what we've all been doing, which is that you play against members of your same sex. Let's see here. This is according to a White House spokesman. Says this hateful bill in Texas is just the latest example of Republican state lawmakers using legislation to target transgender kids, whom the president believes are some of the bravest Americans, in order to score political points. These anti-transgender bills are nothing more than bullying disguised as legislation, and they undermine our nation's core values. Which values are those exactly that are being undermined by affirming the differences between the sexes and affirming that a boy who says he's a girl is still a male? What value is being undermined exactly? Can you go into more detail about that? And as far as targeting transgender kids, the word transgender isn't mentioned in the legislation. It isn't mentioned in any of these pieces of legislation that we've seen around the country. There is no bill anywhere saying that transgender kids aren't allowed to play sports. And I tell you right now, whatever you think of me when it comes to trans issues, if there was a legislature trying to pass a bill saying that quote unquote transgender kids aren't allowed to play sports, I'd be against that. Because the point is precisely that it doesn't, when you're playing sports, it doesn't matter how you internally identify or how you perceive yourself. What matters is what biological category you fall into. That's it. And as long as you're playing in your own biological category, I don't care how you perceive yourself. Doesn't make a difference. But the media, of course, going into overtime over this, and we'll just play one example here. This is a local news affiliate in Texas, trying to show us the pain and suffering and damage that this bill is going to cause. Let's watch this.
Governor Greg Abbott is expected to sign this bill, which requires athletes to play on teams that align with their genders listed on their birth certificates. Proponents of the bill say it will protect girls from having to compete with stronger and bigger athletes. But trans athletes say it unfairly targets them. ABC 13's Pooja Lodia has a story from an 8-year-old and her fight for acceptance.
Sunny Bryant and her mother Becca have testified in front of legislators in Austin multiple times. They say they want to share their story because they feel like people will better understand their position if they get to know them.
Here's my hilarious comic.
Sunny Bryant is 8 now, but she says she's known who she is since she was 4.
I am a girl.
This is not pretend. This is not a phase. And it's
Yes, it
real. There's a difference between saying I want to be a girl and I am a girl, and that was made
What's the
very clear
difference?
by her.
Her family has been supportive, and most of her young classmates don't ask much. They've always played sports like baseball and gymnastics together.
Because they'll be expelled if
But
they
when
ask
the
any questions.
Texas
That's why.
legislature began debating a bill that would make it so that she will only be able to play on boys' sports teams, she and her mom went to Austin.
It was kind of emotional, and
No.
I was kind of.
No, the mom
really
went to
nervous.
Austin and dragged him
in
along.
search of a problem. We haven't had any lawsuits in the state of Texas. We haven't had any cases. And the population of trans kids is so small. So that means she'd be the only girl in a locker room, only girl on the team. She won't have that community that you get.
I like baseball, tennis, gymnastics, and soccer. What is in my heart is I think I should be able to play sports because I am a girl too.
Sunny is still only 8 years old.
Okay.
So her
All right, I've
mother
seen all
says
that.
she still has a
So we're supposed to believe this kind of thing. It enrages me every time I see it. It will never not enrage me to see kids being treated this way by that. I have to stifle myself. I know we just said we can't worry about people's feelings of being gentle and everything, but I also don't necessarily want to get completely deplatformed. That mother, here's what I'll say about the mother. There is no 8-year-old on the planet who is saying to their mother, "Oh, let's go to the state capitol and lobby over this bill that's being proposed. Hey, Mom, I want to become a political activist. That's what I want to do." I have 8-year-olds. I have 2 of them right now. They have no idea what bills are being passed. The state legislature, let's go to the state capitol and lobby over bills. They're not thinking about that. You know what my son is thinking about? He's thinking about he wants to go outside and run around and wrestle around with his brother and throw rocks at various objects. You know, they could go outside and that's an afternoon. I mean, just picking up rocks and like throwing them at trees. I've told them don't throw them at anything that's alive, but other than that, throw all you want. That's what they're thinking about. No 8-year-old. So we're supposed to believe that this 8-year-old has chosen to become a political, advocate, has chosen to be the face of transgender rights in Texas, just like we're supposed to believe that at 4 years old, this boy discovered his inner female identity. And that mother says, well, there's a difference between saying, I want to be a girl and I am a girl. Yeah, really? What's the difference exactly? What is the difference when a 4-year-old says it? Is there a difference when a 4-year-old says, I am a lion versus I want to be a lion? Yeah, there's no response. This, of course, is the point that we on the sane side have been making. One of the points, which is that little kids have no concept of their own identity. They have extremely active imaginations. They get into phases that can last sometimes for months or years even. And sometimes kind of weird phases where they get really obsessed with a certain idea or concept or imaginary thing. That's all perfectly normal for kids. Which is why a young child can claim to be an animal or a superhero or some sort of mythological being and really believe it on some level. Because to them, the distinction between playing pretend, between using your imagination and reality, there is really no distinction. That's why at 4 years old, you could have a kid who almost every parent on the planet at one point has had a conversation with their child about how there's no monsters in the closet. Here, I'll open up the closet for you, shine a light into it. There's no monsters. You see, there's nothing in there. But they don't understand that because in their heads, they feel like there's monsters in the closet. And so the idea that they could feel that something is true and yet it not actually be true, that's not something that they can wrap their heads around yet. So we can keep making this point, and the other side, all they do is scoff at it. Oh, this is totally different. A 4-year-old boy saying he's a girl is not the same as a 4-year-old boy saying he's a dog. Really, it isn't? How's it any different? Tell me. If we on the sane side, if we ran society, if we had not ceded and surrendered our society the way that we have, that mother would be going to prison for the rest of her life, which is where she belongs. This is her, as I always say, this is Munchausen by proxy. This is her imposing her delusions, her sickness, her mental illness onto that child. And then traipsing him around like a trophy, like a little mascot, like a prize that she's been awarded. We hear about men that have trophy wives. Well, there are parents that make little trophy children for themselves. So they can earn woke points and they can earn social credibility. They can up their social score. And so they can show the entire world, look at my trans child. I have no sympathy for these parents at all. I know some people do. They say, well, look at these parents, they're in a difficult situation. They don't know what to do. No sympathy. Look, if you're a parent and you're adult and you're a good parent and you've raised your kids the right way, and your 14-year-old girl goes to public school and comes home one day out of the blue and says, I think I'm a boy, I have sympathy for you there in that case with adolescent girls or boys who just one day out of nowhere get this idea in their head. And you've got the school system working against you, all of their peers, everything in the culture and media. I mean, that's one thing. But if you're a 4-year-old, if you're a parent with a 4-year-old, quote, transgender, that's on you. And that is really easy. That's a really easy problem to solve. Very easy. The only way that problem maintains is if you want it to be that way. Listen, hit that subscribe button right now. Do it right now. I thank you for your compliance. It is somewhat appreciated.